Hello, and welcome to another edition of All or Not According to Jack with your host, Jack Toledano. So, before I get to my content on this next video, which I am about to shoot, um, a couple of quick notes. First of all, my sincere condolences to the family of former Eagles bassist Randy Meisner and to the Eagles band. Randy was a great player. He had a very versatile voice. I mean, that I think was his biggest asset. He had a great voice. I mean, songs like Midnight Flyer, Too Many Hands. His biggest hit, what's it? Take It to the Limit. Uh, so gonna miss you, Randy. You were great. I I thought and even your how would you say, your backup vocals to, support of Glenn and Don. Amazing, amazing stuff. Another person claimed by Rock and Roll Heaven. We'll miss you. So, next item on the agenda. So, my last video, the Long Island Hall Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame, at about the 20-minute mark, I incorrectly, it's late. I apologize, folks. I incorrectly called my lodge the Odd Couple when it's in fact the Odd Fellows. So, oh man, those guys see that they are going to rouse me to death. I don't look forward to that. Hi, brothers. Okay, so for the actual content. So here's the thing. So I was away for the last 3 weeks. I was at my second home in upstate New York. So now I do not have cable TV up there. Instead, I have a bunch of apps and streaming services. Uh, so if you buy one of those Roku TVs, it comes with some free services. So one of them I got was Tubi, Tubi, Tubi. So I'm looking through it. There's some historical content that I loved and I watched, but then I saw some musical content. So I started to go through that, and let me tell you, there is a freaking database of about 600 plus music videos and talk about bands and stuff. I mean, anywhere from Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Fleetwood Mac, Led Zeppelin, Steely Dan, and then of course, to name a few, Aerosmith. There's just so many. It's amazing. It's really one of those things. You're up in the woods, up by the lakeside. It's late at night, and you're looking for something to watch. And I'm trying to come up with some musical content to talk about on this show, and I happen to stumble across that. So I'm like, maybe I could watch a few of these and make some episodes about it. So the first one that I watched, and I'm like, you know what? I have to talk about this one. Um, let's bring it up. Find my virtual background. So there's this thing called Rock Milestones. It's an actual video, where you have classic album, vinyl or whatever classic albums. It is one brand. This is another Rock Milestones, but you know what? This one I don't think holds a candle to the classic albums. But enough about that. I thought it would be really cool to see this because of the fact that, hello, this is one of my favorite all-time albums, favorite all-time rock albums. And I know Pete Pardo has this series of the top, um, what is the top hard rock and heavy metal albums, the 31 top hard rock and heavy metal albums in the month of July. I don't know if he mentioned Deep Purple in rock, I thought I saw him mention Burn, but this would hands down be one of mine. No freaking question about it. This would easily be in my top 5, top 10. This album is just that damn good. Well, we'll talk about it. Unfortunately, so I'm watching this thing and they only really talked about 2 songs. When you got, for me, 6 out of 7 are freaking barn burners. Blow the doors off. It's that damn good. We'll talk about that. So this video is about an hour. So first 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, they talk about an introduction, and there's a title sequence. Then or about another from 240 to 427, they talk about the early band history, uh, Mark One band and its shortcomings. 427 to 632, there's footage of them performing Hush. I mean, so different than what they would become. I mean, granted, I get why they wanted to change, and unfortunately, they had to let Rod Evans and then Nikki Simper go. Uh, is what it is. They wanted to go, and I know Richie Blackmore wanted to go in a much more hard rock direction, and I applaud that. They just weren't making it. They, some things that were said, and I'm going through my notes, and I kind of have it all jumbled up, but basically, um, they said that they were kind of that early Mark One band was kind of a band without a direction. You had some great virtuoso players. You had John Lord, you had Richie Blackmore, and then you had Rod Evans, who was basically a pop singer. They played some good songs in the beginning, like Kentucky Woman, I like, a remake of the hell's it, Neil Diamond. Uh, you know, Other than that, there's of course this Hush, the Joe South original, but they didn't really know where they were going. Uh, so from 632 to 933, there's more discussion about the first 3 albums. So people on the panel to talk about this album in rock: Chris Charlesworth, the Purple biographer. There's Malcolm Dome, Total Rock Radio. Jerry Bloom, editor, More Black Than Purple, a book I guess he wrote. Paul Elliott, Mojo Magazine. I do have some of his comments that really stood out for me. Doogie White, rainbow vocalist from 94 to 97. Jerry Ewing, music journalist. Okay, so going back. So from 933 to 14, Doogie White talks about post Mark One planning and jamming. They show, and here's a documentary. You didn't even know that the footage that you were playing was for the song Wring That Neck. I mean, a pretty good jam that they had going, and that was one of their better jams in that Mark One era, and it was a song that they wrote. One of their few company or band compositions. So Rod Evans finds out unceremoniously that he was let go. Richie Blackmore stated that Nick Simper was average and didn't really have any ideas. From the 14-minute mark to the 16.5-minute mark, in rock discussions begin. 1628 to 2320, they talk about the concerto for group and orchestra. So, granted, I don't know if it was such a great idea, but it was something, the band was at a crossroads, obviously, but John Lord had always wanted to do this, so Richie Blackmore made a deal with him. He's like, okay, we do this, then I want to pursue this hard rock angle. And he said, you know what? And if that fails, I'll do orchestras for the rest of my life. Thank freaking God, it Deep Purple in rock succeeded. So 2320 to 3119, the discussion about Speed King begins. Surprisingly, Richie Blackmore is actually playing a Gibson ES335, it looked like, for Speed King, but again, they from 3119 to 32, they show John Lord solo, again going back to Wring That Neck. Very cool. I think people know how much I love John Lord and his playing. 32-minute mark to 33:23. In rock again, they talk about, rock credibility. I agree 100%. 33:23 to 41:55, they talk about Child in Time. They play a lot of footage from Child in Time. 41:55 to 42:44, Paul Elliott, the Mojo Magazine guy, makes some statements that I disagree with. I thought were wrong. 42:40, and I will get to those. 42:44 to 43:12. Ian Pacey talks about In Rock. 43:12 to 46, the audience treated to virtuoso performances, mainly Richie Blackmore soloing. Guy's a beast. Doesn't never, not a very fun guy to work with, from what I understand. He's a perfectionist, but as a solo guitarist, a real beast. 46 to 48, they talk a little bit about Richie and Ian Gillan not getting along. More Richie soloing. And then, of course, they wrap it up and, talking about In Rock. So getting to Paul Elliott, some of the things he said, basically the second two albums, what's the second one called? Shit, I can't think of the name of the second album. It'll come to me, but Book of Tilesian. And then the third album, which is self-titled Deep Purple, he said they were disastrous. Second one, I mean, it had its moments. I love Kentucky Woman, but again, not really what they became. Mark II for me was the true Deep Purple. Rod Evans, not really quite good enough, is what they said. Not really capable of being a hard rock vocalist. They paid Roger Glover a high compliment. Said, he was the anchor of the band. Roger, unlike Nick Simper, came up with some good song ideas to help start some. Now, Deep Purple, pretty much, once they started to make their own compositions, they were all group compositions. Now, supposedly, Roger Glover came up with a lot of those early licks to get these sessions started for these songs, which I commend him immensely. I've sat on my bed with my guitar and tried to come up with ideas, and it's amazing how once you start playing, those ideas would flow. My son Jason, similar. Having somebody come in with an initial lick, it could mean all the world. Could mean all the world. From what I understand, he came up with the idea for Smoke on the Water. This guy, Paul Elliott, said that they were the ultimate virtuoso heavy rock band. I agree with that. More of a progressive rock nature than Led Zeppelin? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I thought, Led Zeppelin had a lot of ideas. They went in a folksier direction. Maybe not so much prog, but Maybe there was a little prog on, on physical graffiti. Uh, Stairway to Heaven, maybe. Okay, so only Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath compared to Deep Purple at the time. I agreed with that. Richie Blackmore, the ultimate guitar hero. At that time, possibly. There's just no one like him. Uh, you would really have to see some of the early footage to know. Uh, so here's where I disagree with them. In rock, he says the pivotal rock album made a huge impact. A couple of minutes later, says not their strongest set of songs. Uh, Two out and out classics, the ones they covered, Speed King and Child in Time. And then he said side two not as strong as side one. What the fuck, man? I mean, you got Flight of the Rat, Into the Fire, and of course, Hard Loving Man. Oh, that first of all, Flight of the Rat and that drum solo at the end by Ian Pace is awesome. Into the Fire, that simple yet extremely heavy riff. And then, of course, this Hard Loving Man, possibly my favorite song of all that Deep Purple ever did. That riff is killer in the beginning. And then John Lord in the middle, and that bridge, he just goes off on that Hammond. Killer. So shame on you, Paul Elliott. So basically, what I've decided to call, for lack of a better word, maybe I'll change this little series, and I'll just going to do these from time to time. I'm going to call this Reviewing the Reviewer. There's another one that I'm going to do, shortly. I saw a couple of really good ones. I saw a good one for Fleetwood Mac. I saw a good one for Rush. So I'll probably do those next. But this was a lot of fun, and it's really enjoyable forcing me to go back and watch this like 2 or 3 times and take my notes and be able to talk about it. And I mean, the others I think will be more favorable. I really like the job that they did on the Fleetwood Mac and the Rush one, but I think they kind of butchered this one, because this album for me is killer. It's one of my Desert Island discs, and probably it has to be one of my favorite hard rock and heavy metal albums of the 70s. So, and also the fact that, there are people always saying that, oh, you can't just talk about the hits. If you like a band, you got to talk about their deeper tracks. Well, here you go. I just gave you 3 of their best deep tracks. Flight of the Rat, Into the Fire, Hard Loving Man. Of course, side 1 is killer also. I mean, in rock, not in rock, Speed King, Child in Time. They failed to talk about the second song, Bloodsucker. Another amazing riff in the bridge of that. And then, of course, John Lord goes into another great, amazing freaking Hammond organ solo, which he's playing through his, his Marshall stack. Just not so much in that particular case, not so much the virtuosity. It's more the killer sound that he produces. So good shit, man. So this is Jack Toledano speaking for all and none. According to Jack, let me know what you think. If you happen to go to Tubi and you want to check this out, go right ahead and do so. All you have to do is, if you can't find it, just go to the search bar and look up Deep Purple, and you'll find it. It'll be there. Uh, I haven't watched. They also do one about Made in Japan. I haven't watched that yet, but all in due time. Hopefully, they didn't butcher that one as much. But awesome. Have a good one, all. I hope you caught some of Sea of Tranquility's, this month in hard rock and heavy metal. I really enjoyed it. Good job, Pete. I don't know if I don't know if you talked about Deep Purple in rock, but you didn't. Tisk tisk. All right. So anyway, this this episode was brought to you by the makers of Jameson, great Irish whiskey. I don't know, Butch Jones, if that's your speed, but so I was uh we went in the city today, my family and I. We had a great time. So when we came back, of course, none of us was in the mood to cook, so we ordered some Chinese food, and right near my Chinese food place is my local liquor store, and my kids drank me out of my Bacardi, so I had to get more. And they were doing some samples of Jameson, and they were giving out these nice hats. So I'm like, said to the lady, "May I have one?" She's like, "Sure." Uh, she did give me I had to take a shot of the Jameson, but good stuff. And as I was walking out the door, don't forget your pin. So I'm actually, family and I were planning a trip to Ireland next month. So I might be wearing that hat. So anyway, have a good night, all. I'll speak to you soon. Jack Toledano, over and out.